Hey YouTube, this is KMCCMK9 Master Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you part 1 of my Blender series. And we might be asking, what is Blender? Well, Blender is a free multi-platform 3D modeler and animator. And it's multi-platform and completely free, so it works with Mac, Windows, Linux, Solaris, and IRIX. And the easiest way to get it is to open your internet browser and go to your address bar, and from there you're going to go to blender.org. And once the page loads, you want to click download and download the appropriate version for your operating system. Once you download and you begin to install, it's going to ask you if you would like to install Python. Python is a language that was used to program and build Blender. You don't have to install it, but I recommend you do. If you do install it, there's some scripts and some extra codes you will be able to use in future tutorials and other future advanced modeling. So I recommend you do. Once you do that, you may run Blender. Now, if you're on Windows Vista or Windows 7, you're going to need to give it permission to use the hard drive to use it. This is what you're greeted with. By default, you're given 3 panels. At the top, you're given the user interface, which has your File New, File Open, File Save, Import, Export. You have Add, where you can add meshes. Timeline, where you can control your timeline. Game, where you can start your game. Render is where you can render your animation, and Help. In the middle here you have your 3D view, which I will go into in a little bit, and at the bottom here you have your buttons panel. And to control panels, what I mean by that is you can make panels bigger and smaller just by clicking in between them and dragging. And you can add panels, remove panels. To add a panel, you'd want to go in between these two per se. Right click, choose split area, and you can choose where you want it to be split. And now, as you notice with all these panels, they each have a little icon. You can click that icon and pick another panel, and it changes to that kind of panel. So this is my UV image editor, my 3D modeling area, 3D view over here, and my buttons down here. Now if I want to get this panel back to how it was before, I could go in between, right click, join, and this arrow tells you which way it's going to go. So right now, the right panel is going to cover the left panel, but we don't want that. We rather have it this way, where the left panel covers the right panel. Click to accept, and there you go. Now we're back to normal. Okay, so now, once you're here, let's go into the 3D view. 3D view is very simple actually to use. To scroll in and out, you use your scroll wheel on your mouse. By default, you're looking top down, which is number 7 on your number pad. To look at the front, you do 1. To look at the right, you do 3. To do the inverse, let's say you want to look at the bottom, you hit Control 7, and you're looking at the bottom. Control 1, you're looking at the back, and Control 3, you're looking at the left. Go back to top view. To go and see things in actual 3D and really get to grasp your scene, click your mouse wheel and drag your mouse. Now you're viewing things in real 3D. By default, you're given 1 cube, 1 lamp, and 1 camera. Sorry, that's the lamp, that's the camera. And to switch between objects and select objects, what you want to do is you want to use the right mouse button, and you can just select them. Now each object has different options down here. As you can see, as I was selecting through them, it changes. So to view what the camera sees, and what the camera sees will be rendered when you render, hit 0 on your number pad, and anything inside this outer double dotted line will be rendered. Now to move things in 3D space is pretty simple. You can, by default, you should be able to see these 3 arrows. If not, come down here, make sure the hand is turned on and that the triangle is selected, and you could just drag along the axes. Red is for X, green is for Y, blue is for Z. And you can just click and drag on them and just line things up how you want. If you want more precise, you can, on your keyboard, press G for grab, and if we wanted to move it on the green line 5 units, we hit Y to make it only move on the Y, then 5, and it moves it 5 units that way. Press enter to accept the changes. You can do that with your X, your Y, and your Z. Now to rotate something, you can come down here, click rotate, and you'll see that your lines have changed, so you can kind of freehand your rotation on your different axes. But I find it easier sometimes to R on your keyboard for rotate. You can rotate in all 3 axes by default, or you could rotate on the x-axis by 45 degrees, and there you go, now it's rotated on the x by 45 degrees. Now the last button down here is scaling, and that changes these to little cubes. You can again drag each one separately, or you can use the keyboard for S for scale, and you can scale the whole thing at once by 5, or you can scale it just X by 3, or you can scale it just Y by 3. Doesn't matter, however you want it to do. Down here at View, gives you other view options. Select allows you to select the inverse. Object allows you to do other transforming and mirroring of an object. Now to select all objects, you hit A. To deselect is A. And if you're selected on an object and you want to get rid of it, X, enter. And there you go, X is gone. The cube is gone. And Control Z is still to undo, Control S is still to save. Now down here you'll see object mode. If you click that, there's a bunch of different options, but edit mode is the most important because then it shows you all the vertexes. You can select just one, or you can select two, and you can pull them out. To select multiple objects or multiple vertices, you would want to use Shift and right click, and you can pull things out, pull them this way, pull them that way, make them look weird, make them look awesome. However you want to do it, that's up to you. But to switch quickly between object mode and edit mode, you can use Tab on your keyboard. And that's basically that. Now over here next to that, there's a little symbol. If you click that, there's a couple different options. If you click wireframe, it makes your objects go invisible. You can see through them. Solid puts it as it was by default, so you can physically see your object. Shaded allows shadows and lighting. And textured will allow colors, any images and textures you put on your object. Okay, now let's talk down here. This is the buttons panel. The one thing that is very important is when you put a new object, you always want to name it. So right now it's named cube, and that's done by clicking this button here and naming it in these two fields the same. Now, by the way, to add something new, you can do spacebar, add mesh, whatever you want, add text, add camera, add lamp, whatever. Now, back to the buttons. This Pac-Man face, if you click that, that's for your game logic and physics. Next is for your script links. The next one is for materials, where you again should always name your material, and you can add new, you can delete, and you can change your colors. You can add an actual picture texture to it, which if you do, that's what these subcategories are for. You click the little cheetah print, and from here you can choose your texture type, which there are some built in, or you can just choose image and upload your own image. Now if you have a lamp selected in your scene and you come here and you choose lamp, you can choose the energy, the color, any texture that is given off by it. And also one other thing I'd like to point out real quick is if you click world, you can choose your world color, so when we rendered it's a blue background, you can change that. Now let's go over back to our buttons. You can click this one that looks like those 3 directional arrows. It'll tell you the name of your object and if there's a parent to it. And then you could track it here. And our last is your output. Now, one thing I would like to say is you can render the scene with F12, or you could press the render button. F12 is just faster. And then once you have this open, say you want to save this picture, you could hit F3 and it allows you to choose where you want to save it on your computer. If you're doing an animation, you'll set your start frame, your end frame, the size, the format, which should be QuickTime or AVI, and then you click animate and it does it. And you want to make sure you choose your output folder first by clicking this top little folder here. Click that and allow you to choose where you want to save your video. And that is the basic understanding you need to use Blender. Thank you for watching. My next tutorial will be more in-depth on materials. And again, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please post a comment or send me a message. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.